What is going on, team? Matt here from the PT Profit, Leverage, and Lifestyle Show. I'm super pumped to have my amazing client, Michael, here with me today. How are you this afternoon, my friend?
I'm well, Matt. How are you?
Very good, mate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
I'm
for having me.
super pumped to have a conversation with you because anytime I basically have a conversation with you or check in, there's always some epic success that's happened in your business, whether it's the bodybuilding or whether it's the business growing.
It's been a nice, yeah, it's been going well so far. So far, so good.
Awesome. So, we'll obviously talk a little bit about your journey. I'd love to get into obviously some of the success, but also some of the challenges that you've had since we've been working together, or even before that, if you want to discuss before that.
Sure.
But if for people who don't know who you are, do you want to give us a bit of a summary of yourself and what gym you're located in?
Sure. So my name's Michael. I'm a personal trainer. I'm the head personal trainer at Anytime Fitness Ballina. I've been in that role now for roughly 4 years. I joined the gym just before COVID hit. Couldn't have been better timing. And Originally, I decided to become a personal trainer just because I'd been training people on the side with my previous job, the job beforehand, which was a management position. But I was training people on the side, and they mentioned that I was doing pretty good at it, and you should consider it as a career. Why not become a personal trainer? And I didn't really think about it that much, but the idea just burrowed into my head. And then eventually I went and got my Cert 3, Cert 4. And I started apprentice. I was doing an internship at one particular gym, and then I got snapped up by Anytime Fitness. They headhunted me, which was great. I really needed it at the time because I was transitioning between careers. Um, and I've been doing I've been training people. I've trained hundreds of people now. I do group training sessions as well. I do semi-private. I wear a lot of hats, um, and it's been going really well, especially in a small town like this. There's a smaller pool of people as compared to say somewhere like the Gold Coast up north or in Brisbane, but I've managed to carve out a full book of clients quite a lot of times over the years. It waxes and wanes, but recently I've been fully booked and close to it. But I've loved it ever since, and can't wait to see what the future holds.
Awesome, mate. That's so good. And we actually started at a similar time, actually. I
Yeah,
actually started kind of just after the lockdowns for us in Brisbane. So I actually started as an online trainer during lockdowns.
that's
Uh,
sweet.
so whether or not you knew that or not, who knows? But now you do.
I know I do.
So I'm super curious. Let's obviously talk about the stuff more recently because I don't know a whole lot around the first couple of years.
Yeah, sure.
I probably only know around the last 6 to 12 months
Mhm.
or so. You said obviously you've had a lot of success uh,
Yes.
recently.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you've done, or what have you done differently, let's say over the last couple of months compared to in recent times?
I focused a lot more on lead generation. I didn't really go that hard on it because I had a lot of referrals from either clients, past clients, or from management. But that can only last so long, and especially in a smaller area like this. So eventually, I had to look for other sources of other marketing sources, and so I've been honing my skills as far as lead generation goes, particularly with gym lists, member lists, uh, community outreach, that kind of thing. So focusing more on that, and I found that I haven't really needed to go too hard on that, but that's definitely been a game changer as far as getting consistent lead generation. I wouldn't say it's massive leads, but there's consistent leads, which are really important for personal training to have those consistent leads coming in. But I found that I haven't had to go down I've kept it very organic. I haven't had to go down paid advertising. I've dabbled in that a little bit over the years, but I've just found that with the strategies I have now, organic still really works.
Yeah, it's a great point you bring up because a lot of people, like, because obviously you're at Anytime Fitness, even a lot of people that I talk to struggle to get leads. But in reality, in a gym like Anytime Fitness or any of those type of commercial facilities, Fitness First, Good Life, Jets, Snap Fitness, all those type of clubs, especially obviously the strategy that we do, they're all organic.
Yep.
Like we do teach paid advertising, but 95% of face-to-face PTs do not need to do paid advertising,
Yeah. Right.
in my opinion.
Mm.
Um, and you can go into as much detail as you want with this, but in terms
Sure.
of finances, in terms of the revenue for the business,
Mm.
um, where is that kind of, well, what's the growth been like? When you obviously said it's been quite good recently. Like what are we talking in terms of growth or even total revenue?
As far as total revenue goes, I'm averaging now roughly over 2,500 a week. Um, that's gross revenue. I want to say.
Yeah.
I'd love to say it's take home, but it's gross revenue at the moment. And as far as growth goes, I think around about the time I started working with you, it was waxing and waning. I'd say roughly about the uh, closer to the 1,500 mark per week. But I found that it was yo-yoing quite a lot between 1,000 and 1,500. And so I felt like I needed a different approach. That's why I approached you, and I've seen you on your podcast, but I'd also seen you online as well. And I love the face-to-face PT thing because I think the online trainer thing is nothing wrong with it, but I think that there's also some room now for face-to-face PT. It tends to that doesn't have a lot of focus on it. There's lots of online stuff. Go online, do that sort of thing. So I've gone harder on the face-to-face, honing my skills on that, getting better at marketing, etc. And I've been able to scale it up to that point, and it's been consistent ever since, which has been fantastic for me.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to what you were saying before, like the leads that you are generating, it's not a massive, like huge amount of leads that you're getting, but it's consistent, like week in, week out, you're getting consistent leads, which is, I think it's one of the reasons you'll be able to relatively quickly go from, that 1,500 up to 2,500, not so much easily, but
Mm.
relatively, it's been relatively consistent. Because as I said before, like pretty much every single time I did a check-in with you, you're like, oh yeah, I signed 3 new clients, or signed 2 new clients. I was like, oh, cool, happy days. So, a lot of time when I'm talking to people as well, it's like you need to focus on the growth tasks, which is the lead generation, booking in the consults, doing the consults, obviously converting, and then more than likely you're probably going to grow the business, which is pretty
Yeah,
much what you've done.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. The other thing I've also been developing is my conversion rate, sales, obviously, being able to take the lead from a prospect to a client. I was doing okay at that, but I felt like my conversion rate wasn't that great. I could get the leads in, but I just couldn't convert them that well. And so I've been working harder on that. So I think the combination of those two is killer. But I think in my experience, when I've worked with a lot of other PTs, lead generation is one thing, but the other thing too is they're just having trouble converting. They can't get the clients to buy. They can't get the clients to sign on. And I've just gone hard on that and made sure that, uh, especially with objection handling, that kind of thing, that I've got my ducks in a row, so to speak.
yeah.
And I found that just by it's nothing I wouldn't say it's anything complex or anything terribly advanced. It's just very simple stuff, but it makes such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you say like combining that as well, like if you're generating more consistent leads plus increasing your conversion rate, it's no wonder you've been able to grow so fast. So I'm just curious on your perspective as well. You obviously mentioned objection handling, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Um, what were we talking in terms of what was your conversion rate previously and what does it look like now?
So I would say it was more around the 50%, about 50 to 60%. Now it's well over three quarters. So it's 75% and over. Um, and that's been consistent. So uh, I feel, and the good part about that is I feel confident when I'm doing the sales now. Whereas before I was thinking, oh, are they going to do? Are they going to sign on? Are they not? And that I think the prospect could see that, so they backed off. But whereas now I think, well, it's just all I have to do is A, B, C, and as soon as I do that, fine. I just present it a certain way, and we're good to go.
Yeah, that's huge because it also like obviously you'll be able to get more clients, make more money, etc. But if your conversion rate is, in your case, an extra 25%, you're also saving 25% of time on
Totally,
on that as well. Like it's um works both ways. Extra money plus less time.
absolutely.
I'd love to dive in a couple of the challenges as well along the way. Obviously, business is never easy, of course.
Not at all.
Yeah, everyone obviously always sees the result and the success, but not a whole lot of people talk about the challenges or the roadblocks that they've had. So I'd love to dive into a few of those things
Sure.
as well. So we can go kind of whether it's towards the start of your journey or even in more recent times. But what are some of the challenges that you faced with growing your face-to-face business?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll start at the start. The obviously COVID was a massive handbrake.
Mm.
It couldn't have come at a worse time. I actually started when I started as a PT. I basically started with nothing. I had no leads. I had no marketing, no sales, nothing at all. And I basically just I built the airplane on the way down. But I managed to get to a point where I think my first 3 or 4 months, I had roughly around, I built it up to about 15 to 20 clients. I was getting a nice steady stream of income. I hadn't let go of my previous job at that stage because I wouldn't say I was 100% all in with PT at that stage. And then COVID hit. That basically killed my business. A lot of clients just disappeared pretty much overnight, especially with the first lockdown. Then when the lockdown was lifted, then I started again. So I built it up again. And then the next lockdown happened, and the same scenario repeated. And then we had the floods here, and the major floods, and that killed a lot of my business too. And so I had three major hits, I think, in the first year or so. That was a real challenge. I guess I had a period where I was questioning whether this would be a viable uh, career path, um, because it was just up and down, but it was a massive down. Not no, it wasn't just little bit. It was a big down. And could I bounce back again? And I just thought, oh, let's just go all in and see what happens. And so I managed to navigate that and build it back up again. It took a while, but I got there. As far as recently challenges, uh, I'm a I'm a competitive runner and a bodybuilder. So to prepare for the races and to prepare for shows while you're doing PT and you have a full book or close to a full book of clients is quite a challenge because you've got to give time for those specific things. And I I manage it, but it's a lot.
Mm.
But at the same time, I'm the sort of person I can't live without either. I've got to have both. So I managed to make it work, but it's a real balancing act. And some days, yeah, I'm just rushed to do anything. Other days, it's all on point, but I like to cram a lot into a very small space. So that's a real challenge. Um, but I've managed to build better time management skills over the years, and of course, I think I've come to you quite a lot about my time management um, uh, foibles so over the time I worked with you. So I've managed to build up a system now where everything works. Is it 100% perfect? No. There's days where it's great, and other days where it's not so great. I'm just on the fly, but I'd say these days it's less about finances and more about time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's natural to make that shift when you obviously start to make a bit more money or
Yeah.
start to grow the business. It's obviously about being more productive with your time, with the conversion rate as an example, or the consistent lead flow. So you're not, going all out with all these types of leads. But I'm super curious to dive into the COVID stuff
Sure.
for a second. The reason being is because not so much with COVID recently, because obviously that happened in what 2020 or whatever it was, but a lot of people start PT as a part-time gig, and they struggle to make the transition to like a full-time, whether it's a full-time income or whether it's a full-time job, or not so much a job, but full-time hours in the business. Um, Firstly, how is that transition making the transition from like a part-time PT to going all in? And I'd love to kind of hear like what the mindset was like and why you decided to go all in rather than taking the easy route and having a job for security. What's your thoughts?
Mm. I think I got to a point where, especially with PT, it could really have gone either way. I mean, I, I could have just let go, and it really wouldn't have mattered that much, or there was potential, and I could have gone the other way. And I just thought, I've got to make a decision here. I can't just sit on the fence because it's neither way was really working. So I decided, well, I'm good at this. I can do this, and I got really good feedback. And the management were behind me, and they've been fantastic from day one. And so I thought, let's just go all in, go hard, and let's see what happens. Worst comes to worst, hey, there's the mines.
100%. I think a lot of people, in my opinion, should have that type of mentality where it comes to the business, especially when they're first starting. Like, yes, you can obviously test it out and see if you actually like it or not. But if you do like it, like if you do decide to go all in,
Mm.
like what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is okay, go get a job. Who cares?
Totally, totally. And I think I've worked with, just in my gym alone, I've worked with a number of PTs, and I think in the first year and a half, I actually there were four other PTs who came and went in that space of time. Four of them. They didn't stay around long, and the main reason why is just because of what you said. They're dabbling in it. They're not really going all in. They're just treating it like it's, yeah, it's a little bit here, it's a little bit there, and then but they don't do things like, they don't walk the gym floor, they don't have conversations with people, they don't do any marketing, and they sit in the front office on their phones, and then they turn around to the management and they say, "How do you get leads? How do you get clients?" And it's obvious. You get into the gym because, at least with me, I just went into the gym and people knew who I was. With the other PTs, they got no idea because they don't see them often enough. And so that's part of that mentality where they just, it's something I do on the side, not something that I actually do. And so when you have that mentality, I think it's easier because you're driven that way and you have to do it that way. You have to go hard that way. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
Yep, completely agree. So many, yeah, I don't even know if you know this, but I think the stat is 80% of PTs quit within the first 6 months
Yeah.
of starting, and it might be even more these days because, as you said, a lot of people obviously targeting the online side of things, and kind of leaving face to face for whatever for a number of reasons. Like there's pros and cons to each one, but in my opinion, face to face is by far the easier business to build. If you think about it, how many online PTs are there these days? And everyone and his dog is an online PT,
Yeah.
let alone obviously the AI stuff that people can do on their own these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know,
100%. 100% agree. 100%. And I think that, in my mind, in the future, I think there's going to be a dearth of face-to-face PTs because everyone's going online, but there's not much face-to-face. And I still find, even now, there's no real demographic, but you still get people asking for face-to-face PT. They don't really like the online version. Sure, there's a lot of people who do, and that's a thing for sure. But there's still lots of people who like that face-to-face connection. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. Obviously, AI presents a challenge, sure, and there's definitely the online version, which is more convenient for a lot of people. I get that. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who want someone in front of them telling them what to do rather than having someone from remotely who's just got sort of an idea or can't really see them, that kind of thing. It just works better for them. So I think there'll still be a market for face to face for quite a while.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think PTs are in trouble at all in terms of AI
No.
and that stuff. I think um, if anything, you'll just probably have more efficiency
Sure.
with certain things. And
Yeah.
speaking of efficiency, I wanted to kind of dive into the productivity stuff that you were talking about before, because
Sure.
yeah, obviously we've had a lot of conversations regarding productivity. But do you want to share with us a couple of things that you've done, whether it's from me or from your own stuff, around how you've been able to be a bit more productive, especially with your, bodybuilding shows and stuff that you've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing I've done product wise, but productivity wise, is the day before I write down what I'm going to do. And so I've got it scheduled so that I do this at this time, this at this time, this at this time. Does it always pan out like that? No. But at the very least, I've got a plan. And then basically all I have to do is just do that. Whereas before, I just thought, oh, well, if I've got time, I'll do this. If I've got time, I'll do that, etc. But now it's all sequenced. Now, for me, that works great. It may not work for everybody else, but I find that uh, yeah, it's the moniker was that prior planning prevents piss poor performance. That kind of thing. That definitely works in my case, and I think planning ahead definitely works. Other strategies I've found if I'm just working, I found the Pomodoro works really well for me. So 45 minutes on, 15-minute break, just keep going like that. That works really well. And in the end, I end up just going straight to it anyway. So I'll just keep going until the job's finished. But I find that just having that break in between when I'm either programming, doing some marketing or something like that definitely helps.
Yeah, 100%. And just going back to one of the things you said about writing stuff down and
Yeah.
scheduling it in. Um, it obviously comes from more of a what's the word I'm looking for? The opposite to reactive, not reactive. You're like
You're proactive.
proactive. That's Thank you. I was like, what's the opposite of
It
reactive?
happens. It happens.
Being proactive rather than reactive. And obviously that's going to make you super time efficient. And as you said, it doesn't always go to plan, of course, which
Yeah.
nothing ever does. Nothing ever goes to plan. But you can obviously, if you've blocked it into your calendar, for example, and this is what I do as well, I block everything into my calendar. You just move it to a different day that you've got time. So you're still going to obviously get the task done. It's just, something urgent came up that you needed to do, for example, or you weren't as productive as you thought you were going to be,
Yeah.
which is awesome. One of the things that we worked on together relatively early was more of the hybrid type of approach. I wanted
Yeah.
to kind of dive into that because it's a big opportunity that personal trainers don't really take advantage of.
Totally.
Um, can you explain what we did and kind of what that looks like now in the business?
Yeah. So I, at the time, from memory, it's a while back now, but from memory, I had a lot of. It was just basically face to face, and then I had an online version of training as far as delivery of the program, and they were basically separate. But I never really combined them until we started working together, and I found that doing having the face to face delivery, but having an online system uh, works really well. And the best part about it is that you can transition between the two so much better. Whereas if it's just fully face to face and fully online, I don't think the client really gets the difference between the two. Whereas if you combine them together, it's just seamless. So if they want to downgrade, so to speak, they want to just go completely by themselves or online, it's just basically a shift. All you have to do is get them to go online, but everything else stays the same. And that's been it's been a godsend for me as far as system delivery goes. It's much easier for me to deliver packages, and having different packages is not something where I have to explain three different things. It's basically just one blends into the other.
Well said, well said. And just for context for people at home, um, when he's talking about the transition here, so this is super easy. Like, for example, if you're sick or go on holidays,
Yeah.
if someone's doing face-to-face PT, what usually happens, and this is what most personal trainers do, is they'll only charge for their time. They'll only
Yes.
charge for the face-to-face session, but they don't charge for the programming, the check-ins, the reviews that they're doing on their progress. So
Totally.
what we actually did was we combined that into a one package price. So obviously that to start with, that increases your price point by, a good, at least 10-20%
Yep. Yep.
instantly.
Yep.
But it's a seamless transition, as you said. So if you're going away, for example, they just go into the online model while you're away, and you're still going to make income while you travel.
Yeah.
So a lot of PTs don't understand how that works. So that's one of the big things that I do with a lot of people. As soon as they start, is change that mindset of cool. Well, I know you're not wanting to travel, for example, right now, but when you do, you'll thank me later, and you'll be able to travel super easy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I've done that in the past where I've just gone away and I haven't got any income. And you you worry about it because you think, well, I need money.
Yeah,
It's a bit hard to go away, and then you've got to start budgeting, and it's not that it ruins the holiday, but it's stressful because you're thinking about, well, if I spend this much money, am I going to have any more for this, and so on and so forth. Whereas if you transition into an online system, well, usually what I do is that if you have the face-to-face delivery, the hybrid delivery, but then you go away, you just say, well, 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go away. This is how we're going to go down to training. We're going to go to an online model. So basically everything's the same, except I'm not going to be there. You just keep training, blah, blah, blah. And they get it. Whereas if you, in the past, what I said was I'm going away. And they said, oh, great. Well, then I'll just pay you when you come back. Well, what am I going to do in the meantime? I need money to travel. So I highly recommend any PTs out there definitely get that sorted out because it will be it's such a relief to be able to go away and know that you're getting paid. Because if you don't, if you've got enough cash behind you, great, then it doesn't really matter. But I think for a lot of PTs they don't, and so it's definitely good to have that consistent income coming in.
yeah, could not agree more. And that's where, like, for me, look, this whole show is about profit leverage and lifestyle. You're
Yeah,
not going to be able to have the lifestyle if you're always trading time for money and only getting paid if
totally.
you're trading time for money, which is what
Absolutely.
majority of people do when they have a job, etc.
Exactly.
But that was super insightful. What's kind of next for you? Like, obviously, you're doing quite well with the face-to-face business. Obviously, you got the bodybuilding stuff as well. So, what are you kind of focusing on over the next kind of 6 to 12 months?
I'd say I'd like to eventually I'd like to bring someone else on board, another PT, and transition away from myself as a lead role, more as a supervisor type role, I guess you could say,
Yep.
and then grow a business that way. I'd like to do a lot more online and scale down my face to face for sure. So I'll have a balance, but I definitely don't want to get rid of face to face completely. I do like training people in the flesh, and I do get a buzz out of it still. But at the same time, I would like to have a lot more leverage in my business for sure, so that I can do other things, explore other things. Um, uh, as I mentioned before, bodybuilding in particular, running to a degree as well, but bodybuilding in particular is a very big time investment, and it's almost like a part time job, right? So it requires that you give energy to it. Otherwise, it's just not going to really work. So I definitely in the next 6 to 12 months, building a business where I can work that in so that I still can focus on the business, not in the business, but on the business, but
Mhm.
still have my other interests on the side and still give enough time to them as well.
That's super exciting. So obviously you've got the profit now. Now we're going into more in the leverage and the lifestyle,
That's right.
which is
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah.
If people want to kind of follow along on your journey as well, where's best to kind of follow you on the socials?
Sure. I'm on Instagram. It's at forward underscore and underscore upward, or just put forward fitness in there in the search. You'll find me there. Yeah, I post as often as I can, but yeah, got lots of exciting stuff coming up.
That's super exciting, mate. I'll put the link to your profile in the description.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you so much for this interview. This is really insightful, and yeah, thanks again for trusting me to help you in the business. I'm super pumped to keep growing and give you more leverage, more time.
You bet. I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you very much.
No worries, champion.